Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics, and this is the Energetic Armament Vox Suppressor. It occurred to me I wasn't taking a look at enough 30 cal suppressors, and I was in the market for a different 30 cal suppressor. I needed another one because I like a couple of my rifles that have dedicated cans, and I had a new 30 cal 308 that didn't have one. So I went ahead and took a look at what was out there. I didn't necessarily want to buy something I already had. So I'd heard good things about the Vox, and I figured, you know what, I'll buy one, put it through the review process, and see how I feel about it after 2,000 rounds, which is exactly what I did. It is a relatively inexpensive suppressor compared to competitors' products. Direct thread, which does appeal to me, direct thread for 308, but you can also change out your back cap, your threading cap, your end piece there, and you can use quick detach devices like the Dead Air Chemo or comparable products. Another cool thing about the suppressor that is aggravated a little bit by the fun police at the ATF is the fact that you can install wipes in the end cap there. So you can take the cap off and it comes with a silicone wipe already installed. Now, normally, if it wasn't for the ATF, it might come with 4 or 5 extra ones because, you know, once you shoot, you know, X amount of rounds through them, usually a lower round count, I start to notice a sound change after, you know, 10 or 15 rounds. Shooting Subsonic 300 blackout, I would just take out the silicone wipe, replace it. But I can't do that now because the ATF said that's spare suppressor parts, you're not allowed to have those. So the cool guys at Energetic Armament in their online literature about the Vox provide directions and what exactly to look for and what parts you need to make your own, and you can do a 1-for-1. So once I shot out my wipe that the suppressor came with, I could then manufacture my own, destroy one, replace it with the other, so I'm not hoarding or maintaining a supply of extra suppressor parts, which is completely nonsensical, but that's just the world we live in with NFA rules as dictated by the arbitrary changes of minds at the ATF. Shh. That is quiet. That being said, with that wipe in there on 300 blackout Subsonic, this thing is stupid quiet. For the review process, I spent a lot of time shooting 300 blackout through it, in fact, including the Burndown, both sub and supersonic. But shooting subsonic with the wipe in there, very quiet suppressor, especially on a shorter 9-inch gun. That part was impressive. Then getting into just using the suppressor for more, I guess, heavy use. The first 500 rounds, pretty much all 300 blackout supersonic, save for a magazine or two that I shot right there at the start when the wipe was still usable. I then removed the wipe from the gun. Haven't gotten the supplies that I ordered to make new ones, so I went ahead and destroyed that one. And I'll make a new one once I have the ability to do so. And it's not a suppressor part until it's a circle and it fits in there. And before that, it's just a sheet of silicone and you're fine. Completely ridiculous. But anyway, first 500 rounds went great. Getting into the Burndown, I did the Burndown on my SIG, MCX 300 blackout, shooting 300 blackout 300 blackout supersonic with a mag of supersonic thrown in there just for fun. Used the suppressor gas setting. I made sure my thing was nice and tight and did my 500 round Burndown. Purpose of the Burndown is 500 rounds as quickly as possible to see if any issues arise that you wouldn't notice with 500 rounds over a much longer period of time. So 4 minutes versus 4 hours, 4 days, 4 weeks, so on and so forth. Here's your Burndown. No issues whatsoever during the Burndown. The tone of the suppressor stayed good from first to last round, which I really appreciate. Sometimes as cans get hotter, the tone does change. This thing's construction is, well, in a word, impressive. Energetic Armament has a lot of information about the materials they use and why they chose them and how well they perform, the specifications that they perform. And I'm probably gonna, basically, more aging nickel cobalt super alloy, which sounds like a space age material because it kind of is. This is technically the space age, and that's the material they use, one of the materials they use to make this suppressor and give it a really good sound signature, a really good performance, a really good tone, and also be able to handle a ridiculous amount of heat in a very short period of time. I mean, this is the same material they use to make rocket motor casings, and these guys are making suppressors out of it, which some people might consider overkill, but I really appreciate. So I definitely noticed it more in that Burndown, because that was the only time during the 2,000 round review process where I put that many rounds through it in that short period of time, and that is an unrealistic round count. 500 rounds that quickly is it's even exceeding, in most cases, sustained rate of fire for, you know, machine gun barrels. So I'm hard on my gun, so you don't have to be. I'm hard on the suppressor, so you don't have to be. Great performance, didn't come loose. End cap didn't come loose, back cap didn't come loose. Everything performed well, and it sounded great throughout that 500 rounds of the Burndown. The next 1,000 rounds, shot a little bit more through in a blackout, but mainly I shot 308. What I was looking at is performance on my SCAR 20, but also my Tikka TAC3 X1 308. Accuracy is a thing. For a direct thread suppressor, that's usually going to provide you with the greatest degree of accuracy that you're going to get out of suppressor. Even though there are some really good QD systems out there, nothing in my experience beats the very fine relative differences between really good QD and really good direct thread. Direct thread's usually going to win out, even if it's only by a measure of fractions of an inch. I still like direct thread because it's simplicity there and usually a better return to zero. There are exceptions, of course, depending on which QD system we're talking about. So what I want to look at is the accuracy. I did a 5-round group at 100 yards on my Tikka. 5 rounds with the suppressor. After I checked the zero, confirmed the zero, I fired a 5 rounds of 168 grain Hornady ELD match. Then I removed the suppressor and fired 5 rounds, same ammunition, same distance, to see if there was a zero shift. Of course, there's almost always going to be a zero shift at that distance. You may not notice it at closer distances, but you're definitely going to notice it at your zero distance, especially for precision rifles. Most people zero at 100, some people zero at 2 or 3, depending on what they're using the gun for. So the zero shift is definitely manageable and repeatable. Through multiple times throughout the review, after in that next 1,000 rounds, I would remove the suppressor, put the suppressor back on, and I was seeing the same basic shift in my zero. Wasn't going to return to zero though, so I threw the suppressor back on immediately after that 5-round group and fired a third 5-round group, same zero distance, same ammunition. I would call that return to zero. Very impressed with that. That's something that I especially from a direct thread suppressor, I'm almost expecting that, because I'm going to torque it roughly to the same degree when putting the suppressor back on the gun, so I wouldn't expect any significant change noticeable to the shooter to occur in suppressed, removed, put it back on, suppressed again. So definitely happy with that. Again, I was taking the suppressor off a couple times throughout the review, throughout shooting it on the 308, and I was seeing consistent results return to zero, consistent shift results, zero shift between suppressors mounted, suppressors unmounted. Very happy with that. Muzzle signature is also a factor. Shooting on short guns occasionally, you know, you'll shoot 3 or 4 rounds, that gas volume builds up, and then you get like a little flame pop. And the nature of the baffles inside, as well as the length of the suppressor, the volume the suppressor can handle, what type of flash cap, if any, is on the suppressor, all those factor into what kind of muzzle signature you're going to see. Something as simple as the air temperature, the humidity, and even the metal the suppressor is made out of can factor into that as well. I don't have control over any of that. I just have control over the suppressor and shooting it whatever time of the year I'm shooting it, whatever conditions I'm shooting it in. But the muzzle signature was pretty much non-existent in low light conditions. Definitely not so significant to where it's going to be a detriment to your ability to acquire a sight picture between rounds. And not necessarily, if this is a concern of yours, give away your position in any significant way just based on muzzle flash. If you're looking for a 30 cal suppressor and you want something that has really good sound performance, really good attenuation, really simplistic mounting, but also you can introduce things like QD mounting for your favorite muzzle devices like those from Dead Air or Silencer Co. or other companies. Get this one. Definitely get this suppressor. In fact, just get this suppressor. If you're going to buy a suppressor and you want one that can handle 30 cal, just get this one. I'm really happy I bought this thing. I really am. I think the performance is excellent. The price point is good, especially for what I'm getting. I feel like this thing is over-engineered, and I appreciate that because I'm pretty hard on my cans. I will probably be seeking out other products they make and hope they are as good as this one, and I feel like they probably will be as good, if not better. I'm really pleased with the overall performance of the suppressor and also the versatility. It's not significantly large, it's not significantly heavy, but it gives me good sound attenuation, good hearing suppression for multiple guns, and definitely the next time I need a 30 cal suppressor, I'm going to be probably going to be buying one of these, outside of just getting another one just to do a review on. This is definitely one that I will be holding on to. Sometimes I buy a suppressor, I review it, I get rid of it. This will not be the case. I'm definitely keeping this one, and it's probably going to become the new go-to suppressor on my SCAR. We'll see. I'm Eric with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.